Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy podcast. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a newer, stronger foundation essential in creating your meaningful legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. As much as you like this podcast, I'm certain that you're going to love the book that I just released on Amazon, Fuel Your Legacy, The 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. I wrote this to share with you the experiences that I had while I was identifying my identity, how I began to create my meaningful legacy, and how you can create yours. You're going to find this book on Kindle, Amazon, and as always on my website, samknickerbocker.com. Welcome back to Fuel Your Legacy, and today we have an incredible guest. It's cool, the more people that I've had on, the more notable people that I've been able to have on, which is always exciting. So today we have Steve Sims on, and he was actually here in Utah a few months ago speaking at a conference for some people who are looking to understand what he does. I'm excited to bring it on because understanding the ROI of relationships is, I think, key in everything. And there's so many of the most successful people that I know, that I listen to, that I associate with, who say relationships are the new economy, right? That's the new currency, is how well do you know somebody. So Steve, he's a speaker, an author. He's the founder of Bluefish, if I'm correct? Founder of Bluefish Marketing. And so coach and he's been called. So this is the best thing, is when people title you as things, because the titles other people give you end up being some of the most wonderful ways to market yourself, because it's just raw. So he's been called the real life Wizard of Oz, according to Forbes and Entrepreneur magazine. So that's quite a glowing compliment to be called the Wizard of Oz. What kind of brought that on? Where'd you get your start? What was your childhood like, and why are you doing what you're doing today?
Wow. First of all, being called the real life Wizard of Oz is a double-edged sword, because let's be blunt, the Wizard of Oz was a fake. So you kind of go, oh, that's very nice. And then you go, oh, crap, are they calling me a fake? So I like to take it on its face value that I am the guy that can. Let's get you through the journey. So I class myself as an educated man, but I don't believe school had anything to do with that. I left school at the age of 15 and ended up working on my father's construction site. I didn't have any future, didn't have any hopes, didn't have any goals. We didn't live in a world of internet where we were bombarded with what the other half were living with or what they had. So I grew up ignorant and immune to all of luxury and stuff like that. But as an entrepreneur, you don't become an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur. It's either you're left-handed or you're right-handed. It's just one of those things. And I remember growing up conflicted, disgruntled, dissatisfied, and all of those things that have everyone going, oh, you've got ADD, and oh, you can't focus and you can't concentrate. It wasn't the fact that I couldn't focus and I couldn't concentrate. I wasn't being engaged. Nothing was exciting me. Nothing was challenging me. And entrepreneurs, we need to be challenged. We come alive when we're challenged. And as a bricklayer, I was being told, this is what you do, and then you grow old and then you die. That was my life. And it didn't make sense to me. I left the building site, not knowing what I wanted to do, but just knowing firmly that wasn't what it was. I ended up selling cakes on the back of lorries. I ended up being an insurance, door-to-door salesman. And if anyone's ever seen me, can you imagine me knocking on your door at 8 o'clock at night trying to sell you life insurance? It didn't go well. I ended up getting a job in Hong Kong by completely lying on a resume. I lasted 24 hours and I was fired. Now, I was just trying anything to get to something that would challenge and excite me. And I found it in the funniest place. I ended up working on the door of a nightclub, and it was a great position. It was a great pedestal for me to watch the world. I was able to watch humanity and to see how they handled themselves, how they spoke to others, how they interacted. You know, like bar staff are some of the best communicators in the world. You know, they'll talk to someone in a business suit, and then they'll talk to a group of girls or guys completely differently within a split second. They are very good at altering the way they communicate with the different people based on a split second assumption of your attitude, the way you dress, how rich you look, how poor you, all those kind of things. As a doorman, no one wants to talk to a doorman because they're there to punch you in the head. No one wants to talk to them. But I was able to watch them. And I would stand on the door of nightclubs and go, I want to be that person. I want to be that group. I want to have them as friends. And so then what I started doing was trying to find a way that they would talk to me as a person and not as a doorman. And because I knew where all the parties were and all the best events were, I started getting extra tickets and going up to my regulars going, hey guys, I know you like a good night. Did you know there's a premiere going on Friday? Are you going? No, we're not. We don't know how to get in. Well, let me make a phone call. I may be able to get 4 of you in. And I started becoming this fixer, this guy that knew. And the only reason I did it was not because I was a social butterfly. Far from it. Was because I wanted to give the people I wanted to talk to a reason to talk to me. It was a Trojan horse. If I can talk to you about getting you into a private party, I can talk to you about what makes you successful, how you head things, why you change. And they all say you are the combination of the 5 people you hang around with. Well, I was hanging around with 5 bikers. So that wasn't going to get me very far in life. So I had to change my circle when I did. It really just started as that. Before you knew it, I went from getting people into parties to throwing the parties myself to suddenly being associated with some of the biggest events in the world, from Fashion Weeks to Grammys to Kentucky Derby, Ferrari's Cavallino Classic, Elton John's Oscar party. I became associated with the grandest, most upscale, affluent events in the planet. And therefore, my clients were those people, or are those people, should I say. And then I started marketing them and branding their products. I'd have people coming to me going, hey, I've got a company that sells lipsticks. How would you do an advert? And I'd be like, well, I don't like your advert because you're marketing to the wrong people. And I suddenly became a branding and consultant for these companies. 2 years ago, I got asked, hey, would you release a book on the rich and famous people that you deal with? And I said, no, I'd be dead by cocktail hour. So then they came back to me and they said, well, okay, would you write a book on how a bricklayer from London can now be working with Elon Musk and the Pope? And that made sense to me. So we released a book, not thinking it would be successful, not put any marketing behind it. It didn't do well in the first couple of months, and then it took off in the third. And since then, I've been doing podcasts and speaking engagements literally all over the world. I consult for entrepreneurs of all levels. I have an online course called Sims Distillery that helps people learn how to communicate. And it's just grown, and I've become my own brand. So from bricklayer to dealing with the most affluent people in the world to now being an author, speaker, and coach, it's a very interesting journey.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so funny how different people come into their passion different ways. And some people, I had a guest on a little while ago who she found her passion really through, it was something that it was her passion at a young age. Then she lost sight of it, or she was dissuaded from it. And then she recircled back to her passion. And I love one of the things you said. Well, actually, it's kind of both in hand. You don't become an entrepreneur. You either are one or you're not one. And
absolutely.
It's okay not to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes, because I work in an entrepreneur world where I'm actively seeking out entrepreneurs. And so the assumption is by a lot of people that I just think everybody's an entrepreneur and everybody can do it. And I just want to work with everybody. And the reality is, I don't know what the percentage of entrepreneurs are, but it's not a high percentage of people who are entrepreneurs. There's a high percentage of people who are not entrepreneurs, who like the security, like the certainty, like the safety of working for an entrepreneur.
And that's fine. That's fine. There's
absolutely.
We got three grades at the moment. And it's like me moaning at you because of your height. You have no control over your height. Okay? So you either are an entrepreneur or you're not. There's a lot of wantrepreneurs out there that look at it and think, oh, it's a sexy life. Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. But they can't handle the 2 o'clock in the morning not being able to pay your bills on Friday, or the fact that you are out on the front line. An entrepreneur is the guy that jumps off the cliff and then builds a parachute on the way down. And there are phenomenal entrepreneurs. In fact, I think every entrepreneur, we had a quick discussion on this before we went live. A good entrepreneur needs to surround himself with phenomenal entrepreneurs. These are the people that love that life until the last bit where you're next on the line. And that's absolutely fine. I'm surrounded by phenomenal entrepreneurs that are creative, driven, push it, and actually help support me be on the front line. So I believe there's great entrepreneurs. I believe there's great intrapreneurs, but the wantrepreneurs, they're too flaky and they fall by the wayside very quickly.
Amen. So how would you help somebody if they're sitting there listening to this and they're not sure who they are or where they fall in that, maybe just because of lack of experience, lack of discovery. A lot of people who listen to this, they're stay-at-home moms. They're people who they've basically sacrificed their life for the love of their children or for other people. And so they've never really gained the experience or tried out the different positions, you could say. How would you help them kind of look at their life and say, well, what about me? Where would I fit in these categories?
Well, first of all, as an entrepreneur, you are rich, broke, rich, broke, broke, rich, 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 broke, rich. It's a helter-skelter of a life. I don't think any entrepreneur, given the vision chart of how they're going to be over the next few years, would ever optionally go, oh, yeah, I like that. Because entrepreneurs will get laughed at, spat at, ridiculed. Elon Musk actually said it to me ages ago. He said, they laugh at you before they applaud. Now, if you're not the person that can stand being hated, ridiculed, and laughed at, then maybe you should be an intrapreneur. If you don't care and you want to be challenged, then maybe you're an entrepreneur. But it really does come down to that final line of, are you willing to take it on the shoulders? Finances, because a lot of the times we've lost as entrepreneurs money, and we're up against it, and then all of a sudden at like 5 o'clock on Friday we've got to pay payroll, and we're running all of our credit cards to do that. We've all been through it. The life of an entrepreneur is not sexy. It's not something we chose. It's something we are.
I love that. I think that's so beautifully put. And if you go back and listen to that and just ask yourself, hey, where do I fit? You know, it's okay. You might be as creative, as eager to create in your life different things, but maybe you don't have the wherewithal to have people ridicule you. And that's something that I think I always had inside of me, but for me, it took a while to really expose that because of the social programming that you should care about what other people think. It took me a while to ultimately say, no, I really in my heart, I don't care what you think about me. I'm going to do what I feel confident doing and what I want to do, regardless of whether you think it's a good idea, anybody, right?
Yeah, it's very hard to run when you got someone sitting on your shoulders. And so care about what you do, care about what you solve, care about what you do, but don't care about someone's naysaying opinion. You'll usually find that the person sitting in the corner going, oh, look at, oh, he can't do, oh, watch it. That person's never going to be your client, and let's be blunt, never amount to anything. Because people like to sit in the corner and tell you can't do something because they don't want you proving that they're inadequate to do it themselves.
Yeah, that is something that I completely agree with. And I tell people that I work with often. I had one woman a few months back who had asked me, well, because she was thinking about working with me. She said, well, I don't want to waste your time. And I just told her, look, I don't let people waste my time.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'll let you reschedule twice on me. And if you reschedule twice, you go in the hopper of people I might call once every 6 months who's just not committed to their future yet, but you may be in the future. Like I don't allow people to waste my time. That's not how this game works. So I love that. So moving forward, something else that you said that I think people need to understand, and I want to add some specificity here because this is, I believe, key in this phrase, especially if you're listen to Gary Vaynerchuk or there's a lot of people. I think Gary V is probably the highest one that says it as often. It's just you have to add value. You have to add value. You have to add value. You have to add value to other people before you ask for value in return. And I think that that's true to a point, right? Just adding value. There's a lot of ways to add value in people's lives, right? Toilet paper is valuable. Somebody guiding you at Walmart's valuable. Like there's a lot of value that you could add. But I love what you did. You added value with intention. That the value add was intentional to, as you stated, a Trojan horse to get something out of it. Not that you expected or that you were going to do a tit for tat type expectation of something out of it, but you were very intentional with how you were adding value, to whom you were adding value, so that you could get around certain individuals. Can you speak to that as why that's so important, the intentional adding of value rather than just random value adding?
You've got to be laser focused today because we're in a world of mass distraction. So you've got to be short and sharp to the point while creating something that benefits you as well. Now, I agree with you about you've got to add value. I also agree with you that there is multiple different levels of value, but you've got to go to the value that gets as close as it possibly can to the core of the individual. So, I've worked with very affluent people, very powerful people, not always very famous people. So you can actually go to these people and you can say, hey, I know you don't know me. Get that out of the way. That's always a good one to get out of the room straight away. I know we haven't met. I know we haven't been introduced, but there's something that I would like to do with you. But before we get into that, I'm aware that you support this charity. I'm aware that you have got a new book coming out. I'm aware that you're promoting your media brand. I'm aware that I've got an idea after looking over this, how I can help you get more reach, get more input, get more donations, get better marketing, and show that you've paid attention to them. Okay? You may well turn around and go, oh, this, and they may turn around and go, well, actually, we've got a marketing team that just actually said that to me. And I've said about and they've come back to me and they've gone, hey, we've actually doing that. And I've gone, great, that's brilliant. But it shows that you focused. And as the old saying goes, they won't care until you show you care. Now, in that conversation, if you dissect what I've just said, I've got out of the room that you don't know me. And when I say you don't know me, you may know my name, but you don't know my credibility. You don't know my reputation. And you're right. Reputation and credibility is today's currency. Okay? So I've got that. You don't know me. You don't know me. You know my name, but you don't know me. I've also made it clear that I want something from you. If I say to you, hey, I need $10, but before we discuss that, I want to talk to you about, you're going to know straight off the bat, I need $10. So I like to get it out of the way that, hey, I need something from you, or I've got something I want us to do. But before we get into that, and then you go into the reason why you need to keep me in the conversation because I'm there to benefit you. If you go in with that route, they know you need something. Why do they know that? Because you told them quite bluntly, I need something. So there's no sitting there going, oh, what is this guy after? I've just told you I want something. It actually allows the person to relax really easily going, oh, well, he wants something, but hang on a minute. He's bringing something to me first. And that really is a good one to get out of the way. So that's how I enter into every conversation, whether it be dealing with the Vatican, whether it be dealing with Richard Branson. I always say, hey, I need something. But before we get into that, I know you're doing X, Y, Z, and go into it that route.
I love that. I love this. I mean, it's a simple 4-step process of making every conversation intro something where you're building rapport, credibility, and you're building that. Now, don't fall on your don't be scared to fall on your face. Say get as big of nose as possible. But on the other hand, do your research. Right?
The research is important. Yeah.
Every client that I meet with, I have them fill out a form where I get all of their social media links, so that when I'm sitting down with them before I meet with them, then I know what things we have in common, what things I can support them with, and what things I can't. The things that I can't support them with, I'm probably not going to bring up in our conversation because that would be like shooting yourself in the foot. So understand who you're talking to, understand where you can add value. Don't take on somebody that you can't actually add value to just because you want to be around them. be clear and make connections where possible. And too many people, they want to be the everything guy, and it's just not. You're not supposed to be the everything guy. You're supposed to be really good at what you do.
Oh, far from it. I've got a brilliant gardener that I speak to absolutely every single week about my garden, but I'm not going to have him do my taxes. It's not a problem to turn around and think this person's good for that, but not good for that.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. So what would you say, when did you, because I know it's a journey and we kind of talked about this, but was there an exact moment where the light bulb clicked? You're like, man, this is what I want my legacy to be.
Oh, I don't know if I even know what I want my legacy to be. I've heard that question come up a few times before, but I'm kind of in the fight and on the journey and enjoying the view. And I have some very basic principles. I want to be crystal clear. I want to be impossible to be misunderstood. And I don't want people to be confused. Now, if that ends up being my legacy or ends up being sketched on my tombstone, I'm actually happy about that. But there's a lot of people that plan for things. And for a lot of people, they need to plan. But I plan 2 seconds after I've jumped off the step. And I find that I only become good when I get going. And everything that I have ever started is shit. I know the first time I do anything, the first time I do an interview, the first time I did a podcast, the first time I rode a push bike, the first time I tried to do a business meeting, every single one of them is rubbish. But you need that rubbish to get golden. And I have learned that. So if I wake up one morning and go, I'm going to do a podcast, I'll do a podcast. It'll have a crappy audio. It'll have bad signal. It'll have a terrible microphone. Everything I try differently. And so legacy-wise, I don't know if I found my thing yet. I just know what I found is ELF. And I'm going to promote a good friend of mine called Joe Polish. He openly talks about ELF businesses. Easy, lucrative, and fun. And if what you do can be those three things, keep doing it. I have had businesses which have been lucrative. I've had projects which have been lucrative, but they've been stressful and they ain't been fun. They made me a lot of money and I bought a new motorbike and I've had great fun I've had great finances doing them, but they ain't been fun. So I now try to find ELF projects and ELF businesses. And I would say now for the past 3 or 4 years with my own personal brand coming out of Bluefish, that I'm in an ELF momentum at the moment and I'm really enjoying it. And where is it going? I don't know, but as long as it's ELF, I'm staying with it.
Awesome. I love that. I've never heard that acronym, but I think I will start asking myself what in my life falls in that category and
what is ELF? Yeah.
Get rid of the stuff that doesn't, for sure.
Absolutely. Joe Polish has said some very intelligent things. He's also said some very stupid things because he's a weird individual. But yeah, he's given me some incredible nuggets which have helped my life.
That's awesome. So if you were to say there was like one story or one point in time where you decided to stop caring about naysayers, what was that one moment where you're like, okay, I just don't care anymore. I'm doing my thing.
I listened to the worst person in the world, and that was myself. And I went through a very, very dark month of my life. I was about 8 years into being the man that can. About 8 years, I had some of the richest clients, royalty, caps in the industry, real power players around the world as clients, sending me hundreds of thousands of dollars for like just a night out or a weekend away. And I woke up one day and I thought to myself, oh my God, I've got to change. I don't know why, but I just thought I had to. So I took all my earrings out and I covered my tattoos by wearing long shirts. And, I thought to myself, I have to be a bit more pronounced. Now I have to be a little bit more British. Just everything about me changed. I started wearing suits. Now, anyone that knows me knows I'm on 2 wheels forever. I bought a car. I bought a vintage Ferrari to try and impress you. I bought a $50,000 Audemars Piguet watch. I went down to Monaco and I threw a kick-ass party in my suit with my Ferrari with my watch. And I came home and I got the photographs of that event. And I realized this was the first event in my life that I hadn't shown up to. This avatar of who I wanted to be had, this pretend Steve Sims had, and it depressed me. And I got drunk, and I was drunk for about 3 days. I didn't know what had happened, and I realized that I had listened to all my my subconscious, all my inadequacies, all of my self-doubt, and I had become this shield, this persona, this alter ego. And luckily, it was my wife that said, look, people don't buy the suit and the car. They've been buying this you for years. They've been sending you money as this quirky guy that can't spell. And anyone that's ever got an email from me knows I can't spell, but it didn't stop me writing a book. Don't focus on your inadequacies. Don't focus on your weaknesses, because you end up with incredibly focused, targeted weaknesses. They don't get any better. Focus on your unicorn. So I realized that. I sold the car immediately. I got rid of the suits. In fact, funny enough, this was in the late 90s. I wanted to keep the suits because they were really nice suits. I put them in my cupboard. And it was about 3 years ago in Los Angeles, I gave them away to a Goodwill, and I had never worn them. Never worn them since that day because I felt they were toxic. Now, I like putting on a nice suit, but it was never those suits. I actually ended up going out and buying different suits. So that was my dark time when I listened to my doubt and my inadequacies. And since then, it's a case of, hey, this is me. Now I've got a, I know you're in Utah, but as far as LA is concerned, it's a bit chilly. And I've got a flannel shirt on, but there's a black t-shirt underneath. And that's where I'm showing up as me every single day. If you don't like it, we can part ways and we'll all be fine. But I am never, ever going to use a single second of effort to be somebody I'm not. So that was my time frame.
Yeah, I think that's often the hardest person to get
100%.
silence, right? You can get to the point where you tell everybody else to go screw themselves, but being able to tell yourself to go screw yourself and
that's
just
tough.
And lean into your uncertainties, lean into your fears, and say, look, I'm going for it regardless. That sometimes is the hardest thing to master. As far as like financially going from the different areas, I mean, going from a bar bouncer, having lost your job in different areas, how did you make that transition from employment into employer or entrepreneur financially? Because I mean, you alluded to this at the beginning, where you're rich, you're broke, you're rich, you're broke, you're rich, broke, rich, broke.
Yeah.
You know, like I understand that happens, and I think that's one of the bigger fears of people who are thinking about making the jump. And so how did you level that? How did you handle it with your wife? I don't know if you have kids, but like, how did you make that an okay thing for them?
I had to stop my bank account becoming my barometer to react. And it took many years. But the thing that would happen was I would have a ton of cash in the bank and I'd be like, oh, I don't need to try. I got loads of money. And money goes quickly, especially when you've got a nice house and you got payments. And I do have kids, so I have private schooling. And before you know it, that starts whittling down really fast. And then you go, crap, I got no money. And then you go and get into stressful deals and projects that you shouldn't have got into, but you have done now because of the checkbook. So you're going from kind of like, fire to beach, fire to beach, and it's bad. And as I say, I was using my bank account to dictate me. And it was the tail that wags the dog. The smartest thing that happened to me was when I suddenly started realizing that I was pathetic at certain things. And an entrepreneur wants to be great at everything. The smart entrepreneur that realizes, we're not. We're great at one or two things, but the rest of it we may be adequate at or maybe really bad at. Yeah. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, I realized that my wife was real detail oriented. She would come to me and she'd be like, well, look, I've looked at the spreadsheet. And I'd be like, well, I don't want to look at spreadsheets. What's the bottom line? Because that's how I vision things.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we actually realized that I can't steer the car. I can be the big, powerful engine that can make it go fast, but I need other people to help me. I need a good set of tires. I need a good set of brakes. I need a good steerer, And I suddenly started finding those people. And I can go, hey, we need to send this person a great brochure. Get someone to design the brochure. Hey, record what you think will be great, and then get someone to write the copy that translates your vision into what someone else can meet. So Claire, my wife, became really good at managing and handling me. And she was like, well, okay. And so what we came up with was the 10 grand credit card, okay, which this actually started in my late 30s. I think maybe 39 or, real 30. I hadn't quite hit 40 at the time. But she said, okay, you're going to have 3 credit cards, because no matter where you travel in the world, sometimes, something can happen to a credit card and it screws, or they try to send you a verification code, but of course you're in a foreign country, so you're not getting it, So we had 3 credit cards. And she said, each one of those credit cards has got 10 grand. Because no matter where you are in the planet, if you've got 10 grand, you can get a couple of hotel nights and you can get a flight out of there, or you can pay a hospital bill. 10 grand is a great instant support number. Okay. So she said, you got 3 credit cards for 10 grand. You're out of bank account. And she literally kicked me out of the bank account. I could not go and see how much money I had in there. Now, this is what happens. You stop reacting to your tail. You start looking at someone and going, okay, is this a project I want to accept? Is this a client I want to be dealing? And in focusing on the client and not focusing on the checkbook, you get to accept deals that make sense and don't motivate your bottom line. You start reacting with your stomach and your head, and not with the fear of how much money's in the bank. You take better deals. And when you take those better deals, you start solving the problems that the client has, and then he starts referring. The knock-on effect by stop looking at the bank account was monumental to me. And my wife would literally just say to me, oh, how's it going? What's your pipeline like? And she would talk to me in my language. Are you busy at the moment? Well, things are starting to get a bit quiet. Oh, well, maybe there's some opportunities for you to use that time, which was code for the bank account needs replenishing. But she wouldn't tell me that, because then I'd go and get the wrong kind of deals. So a good entrepreneur needs good support around them. If you are really good at designing things but crap at doing invoices, and the first time I realized how bad I was at doing an invoice was when I actually undercharged someone by 10 grand, and I had to pay 10 grand for that trip. Okay. Now, do I go to the client and go, oh, I made a mistake? No, I just paid 10 grand to learn the course that I should never do invoicing again. And that was the last time I ever did an invoice. I've never done an invoice soon. I have no idea how to get into QuickBooks. I still don't know the passcode to get into my bank account. I don't need to. It's not what I specialize at. It's not my unicorn.
That's so cool. Now, I've talked to one other person who's very similar. He did door-to-door sales, and he just said, look, when I decided that I wanted to stop looking at my bank account, and just as long as I'm making more transactions or whatever, I'm helping more people than everybody else, I know I'm making more than anybody else, and that's got to be enough. So
bingo.
Yeah, there's value in that for sure. So how could we, if we wanted to get connected with you, or if we had a business that we wanted you to help us with, how would we get in touch with you? How do we get in touch with your book, your Sim distillery? How do we get in touch with some of these tools to help us grow?
Well, we did an online course that should give you the basics called simsdistillery.com. There's one M in Sims. Simsdistillery.com is my 16-part course that hopefully will help you get the first steps. If you don't want to jump into there, Blue Fishing, the art of making things happen, should give you permission to fail and dream bigger. If you want to get hold of me, I'm really not hard. I'm at stevedsims.com, but you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, all of these places. We've even got a free Facebook community called An Entrepreneur's Advantage with Steve Sims. So there's loads of ways you can reach out to me. If you feel as though you want me to actually help with your company, that's nice. But I would suggest you go through those other ways first. You know, look at the book, do your own homework first. You may find by doing that, you actually discover other questions that you would have come up with, that you wouldn't have come up with if you'd have jumped into me straight away. And I want you to be as productive and as powerful as possible. So it's usually best to get the book, get the Sims Distillery, and then kind of like get used to my mentality. You may find I'm not your best choice. I may not be the best person, and only you are going to decide that, but you're not going to know unless you go through the first steps.
That is so true. I'm redoing a training system for a lot of my business partners, and us leaders, we were talking about what should be in there. It's like, it's all in there. If they come and ask me a question before they've done their research or something, then I don't even know what they don't know, but I do know what I've already put out there. So if they haven't taken advantage of the free content that's already there, like there's not a lot we can do for them. And so I love that you said it that way. Totally agree. Go do those things that he's already prepared for you. And if you like him, then reach out and get to know him a little bit better. So we are pretty much at the end here, but I have two more sections here. So the last one is the first one is legacy on rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, looking for 1-sentence answers to go through these and just kind of fast. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. So what do you believe is holding you back from reaching the next level of your legacy today?
Dream bigger. I never want to stop dreaming. People actually hold themselves back by not dreaming big enough. And as far as I'm concerned, the bigger the dream, the bigger the achievement.
Totally agree. Awesome. So next one is, what is the hardest thing you've ever accomplished?
What the story I told you, getting over me. You can be your biggest advocate, you can be your biggest success, your biggest asset, but sometimes you can be your largest devil and your biggest doubter. So try and kick that little monkey off your shoulder.
Awesome. And then what do you think your greatest success to this point in your life has been?
Not caring. I have no care about you laughing at me when I fall over. Just stick around to see me get up again.
Amen to that. And what would you say is one secret that you believe has contributed most to your success?
My dad is probably one of the biggest uneducated men in the planet, big, thick Irish bricklayer fella. And I remember as a kid, he actually put his hand on my shoulder one day for no reason, wasn't even looking at me. We were just walking down the street. And he said to me, "Son, no one ever drowned by falling in the water. They drowned by staying there." Now, at the age of 14, I thought he'd swallowed a fortune cookie or something. I couldn't understand where the bloody hell this came from. But that has often stuck with me. And every now and then I fall over quite often and I go, right, it's my decision whether or not I stay here and drown or I get up. So I would give him that credit.
Awesome. And what are 2 or 3 books that you'd recommend to the Fuel Your Legacy audience?
Blue Fishing, The Art of Making Things Happen by me, Steve Sims, obvious one. Dr. Zeus, because I find that they've got a lot of stuff in there that people don't realize how powerful. Anything by Jay Abraham, because all of his methodology and style, critiques, sales techniques from the 80s are actually more powerful and impactful today. And if I can give you a 4th one, anything that allows you to dream, anything that's kind of like science fiction, espionage, spy novels, John Grisham, anything that makes you kind of dream in your head, that's good. Because the difference between us and AI is AI can't dream, create, and act. It can only deliver what you ask for. So start reading things that make you dream and take you to a world beyond your imagination.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I've never heard anybody put it that way, the difference between us and AI, because that's if you don't follow technology, that's coming up quick.
It's here.
The difference of like AI is going to be able to replace a large percentage of what humans are currently doing. And the question really is, well, what do we do with all that free time? As your wife asked you, hey, it looks like you have a little bit of free time. What are you going to do with that? And that's a real question to be asked. Millions of people are being put out of jobs daily across the world because of artificial intelligence or some form of robotics. And if you're not thinking, how can I then go create more value for the world and give back, then you're going to be sitting there doing nothing pretty quick.
Agreed.
Yeah. So here's the last question. It's my favorite question. I'm excited to hear your answer. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to pretend that you've died, that you're dead. And okay, 200 years from now.
Then, but okay.
No, it's 200 years from now, 6 generations from now. So your great grandchildren are sitting around a table, and you have the opportunity to kind of listen into the conversation that they're having about you, your life, and your legacy. What would you want your great grandchildren to be saying about you 200 years from now?
He lived by his standards and not others. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Hey, and it doesn't need to be any more complicated. I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Steve. I'm just grateful and honored to have you here on the show. And if there's ever anything I can return the favor back to you, I'd love to do so.
Thank you.
And love to, if you're ever back in Utah, I'd love to meet up with you.
Look forward to it, pal. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. We'll catch you guys next time on Fuel Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us. If what you heard today resonates with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me, and if you do give me a shout out, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Thanks to all of those who've left a review. It helps spread the message of what it takes to build a legacy that lasts. And we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy.